All right, we are live. I'm going to turn off my do not disturb here so we don't get a bunch of emails coming in. So, what's going on, Star Wars fans? We're here live talking about episode 6, The Acolyte. It was a little bit slower than the last one. We got slammed last week, with all the lightsabers and Jedi and Sith fights,
Yeah.
What was your first instinct last night?
Well, I thought similar to what you just said is a little lower key, but I enjoyed the information. I thought maybe a little more was going to blow up, which means we have a lot of ground to cover in the last two. I thought some of the details were interesting, like, we'll get into it, but how Kymir was speaking to Osha was interesting. And then how Soul was acting, especially obviously towards the end, but during the whole thing, just keeps kind of building up this question of like, what happened and what is going on. I thought like 3 episodes ago we'd get an explanation from Soul about whatever happened. With the twins, but what did you think?
And he keeps almost getting ready to, and then it gets interrupted. Obviously that's part of the story, so you don't get it, and it gets to drag on a little bit. I thought it was very much like 3. There's a lot of information that we got. I thought that Kymir obviously made himself completely vulnerable by walking in the water, and then
literally.
So he was like, obviously no weapons, she had it. It was so good, I think, because she didn't kill him, she just, however long ago, a day ago or 6 hours ago, he just killed all of her friends. And now she's not, she has the opportunity to. Obviously he knows she's not going to,
right.
But I think, and that's where the title comes from, Teach and Corrupt. I think you have both of them, May and Osha, they flop spots, so which is which? Is Kymir going to teach her, or is he going to corrupt her? I think Soul is going to try to teach, but obviously he finds out, he figures out that, and I don't know if it was Basil that told him or what, obviously Basil figured it out with Pip and stuff. And then
I'm wondering, I was waiting for, because while he's talking to her as if she's Osha, I was thinking like, there's no way he doesn't know that this is May.
I think
the first episode he could feel Osha, and I feel like, and they made a point to say like, man, you can still feel her, or what, whatever. And so I was, as he was talking, he's like, he's got to know something's going to happen here, and then he stuns her. But what a wild move! We're getting a little far ahead in the episode, but what a wild move for him to just bail. I don't know what that's about, but
I think Vanessa Rowe. I think obviously she has a lot to do with this. And I think that we're going to find out a lot more about her in the next couple episodes. And then, like you said, we only have 2 more episodes to go, so we got a lot to figure out here. We have to go back. We've already there's already trailers where we see Kelneka, attacking the other Jedi. And I did notice as well, his eyes are black.
Kelneka's are?
Yes. So I think at some point he gets turned by the witches, and that's why he's attacking them. So. And it seems like Vanessa Rowe is very much in charge of, Soul goes to her for advice, and then she actually admits that she sent them there this episode, and then she shows up. So I think she's got a lot to do with this. I also think, we're getting ahead of ourselves, but into the episode, I think she could have been, Kymir's master. He comes out and says that he was a Jedi a long time ago. So that has to, for me, that has to be, we have to figure out how, because a long time, he's not that old. Unless he's not human.
Longer ago, he's like longer ago than that. It's like, this dude's like 30 and she's like 20 or like 25. So like, I don't know. But Yeah, I think you're right that we'll find out like who he was if, even just a little bit about his Jedi time,
Yeah.
but I still don't believe him. I don't know if
No, I think he's corrupt. I think he's the bad
yeah,
guy for sure, and I think
I
he's
think
trying to turn
he's
her.
in that teaching corrupt thing. I think it's like the prequel tale of Jedi is that like the Jedi are trying to do the right thing and do it wrong,
Right.
and then the Sith are doing the wrong thing and are really good at convincing you that it's right.
Yeah.
Uh, and I don't even know what he is because Leslie Highland, I guess, according to
Right.
the internet, you know, said that the Kylo Ren theme was
Yeah.
present on purpose with Chimere, and I don't necessarily buy that he's like the origins of the Knights of Ren or anything, but I think the same thing might be in play where he's kind of, you know, not, he's done with the Jedi and not necessarily accepted as a Sith. I don't know what's going on, but someone gave him that scar.
Yeah.
And it's a weird scar. What do you think about that?
Well, and again, I'm going to go back to Vanessa Rowe. I think she showed us that whip last night and
Yeah.
killed that insect. It looks like whip marks to me.
Yeah.
And again, if she's I think she's been faking the whole time and covered something up.
Okay.
Even from the first time we saw her. I feel that there was some sort of tension there with her. So I don't know, maybe she did. If she was his master, obviously she didn't do a good job. She didn't teach him the right way.
Right.
There's some people on the internet I was looking at last night, that are saying that Plagueis might have something to do with this. So I
What
don't
are they saying
know
about that?
that there's some comparison that she might know him,
Oh,
or figure out, something's going on, or the two of them in the past have dealt, something. But again, we still have to get back to there's no Jedi,
yeah.
in episodes 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
That's what they're going to have to do, and that's what they're going to have to come back to
No,
in that.
no
I mean,
Jedi.
no Sith. Sorry, no Sith.
Yeah.
There's no
Yeah.
Sith,
Yeah.
in episode 1. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, I think
So go
I
ahead.
told you, there's all this stuff out there about why Kiadi Mundi's in it, and a lot of people were mad, but uh, I would argue that's probably exactly why he's placed in there, or why, you know, he's in there to demonstrate why by the time we get to Phantom Menace, they're not even considering, uh, a Sith Lord being a possibility. I
Right.
feel like at some point, Austin was, if I don't know if Austin's on the live right now or not, can chime in, but him and I were talking last week about they might put it all on Soul because
Oh yeah.
their number one lead, I think from the fourth episode, was that it's an inside job. There's a Jedi out there that's gone rogue or had a splinter cell and is doing this, and they need to figure it out before the Senate gets pissed, and they seem pretty stressed about the Senate, or the politics of the whole thing. I could see. So I mean, that's a shady move by Soul to just get out of there when they're coming. They're coming back. I don't know if
Yeah.
he knows they're coming back. I guess I missed that. Does he know that they're sending a group?
Well, I think right there at the last minute they did, because again, when
Yeah.
when he gets on the comm with her or whatever, and says something about, I think I'm going to watch it again today, but because he takes off and they come in,
Yeah. But like,
so
Did he know that they received it and were sending a party, or was the ship shut down the whole time?
I don't know. I mean, the ship was shut down a lot, but I think he changed his mind after he figured out that. I think it was after he figured out that it was May instead of
Yeah.
OSHA, that he was like, okay, I gotta do something now,
Yeah.
and now I can't stick around. Obviously, he was torn at the beginning. At the beginning,
Yeah.
he's just emotionally just torn
Distracted. Yeah.
because of what happened,
Yeah.
to all of his friends and former Jedi. And we already know that he has a strong attachment to OSHA, which again we're not supposed to have. He has a strong attachment to Jackie, who just died, and I thought that was a good spot. I mean, it was a little icky, but to see her laying there dead, I
Yeah.
thought that was a good call to show that, hey, we got some.
Or honestly, all of them.
Yeah, yeah,
Just be, and to know that like all these like Soul doesn't know who they're dealing with, uh, and the Jedi obviously don't know who they're dealing with, but they don't even know what happened.
right.
And so there's enough ambiguity here where like anything could go down. But like I said earlier, they got to cover a lot in 2 episodes. I would have
Yeah,
thought
well,
that this would be where we were at, like at 4 or 5.
yeah.
I
I
think
thought
we're
we'd be a little, yeah, and I thought we'd be a little bit further than we were last night. I thought we'd get a little bit more. I thought actually we'd go back,
Mhm.
um, and figure that out, which I'm guessing that's going to be next week. I would
I'm
guess that
guessing.
we'll get some
I'm,
information and then we'll close it out in episode 8.
I'm guessing some of that might come from the sensory deprivation
Mhm.
uh, with OSHA, which that's a cool detail that
Yeah,
you couldn't even see through that thing.
yeah,
Uh, I like that, and it's cool. We were talking earlier. I don't know where they are, but it's cool that even in the little cave they're in, there's like cortosis in the wall or in the
yeah, in
rocks.
the cave and stuff. Yeah, yeah. And I was
Um,
reading something that's it's very there's not a lot of it, so obviously it's there, and that's probably
yeah.
a very high concentrate on that planet, but it's also very fragile. And that's
Mhm.
how they explained, that Jackie was able to just, I think it was like 2 elbows or 2 smashes, and it broke and it was off
Yeah.
his head already. you
Yeah.
know. So I thought that was cool because again, you're going to get into some of these people are like, how come it's not all over stuff? How come everybody's not wearing it?
Mhm.
And how come
Same as
we haven't
Beskar.
seen it yet? Yeah,
Yeah.
correct.
Beskar is super rare, and even if you have it, you can't do anything with it because you're not, you don't know how to.
Right, you're not the armor.
Yeah. So, um, yeah, and I feel like I've skipped over some parts, but what do you think about the teaching and corrupting? The title.
Yeah, well, and again, they're separate
Mhm.
again, and if we go back to, I think it's episode 1 and 2 or 2 and 3, we had double names as well.
Mhm.
So obviously they're doing that again, which I think is cool to bring that back in. But I don't know if it's going to be Chimere that's going to corrupt OSHA or he's trying to teach her.
Right.
I think that Soul, maybe that's why Soul went away and took her away so that he could teach her. He's not going to corrupt her, I don't think.
Yeah.
I still think that Soul's a good guy. I think he knows that whatever happened 16 years ago, they messed up.
Yeah.
And there's some big cover up. I think there's going to be 2 cover ups. I think um, the first cover up I think is going to be revealed, obviously, because we need to know
Yeah.
what went on. But I think the Jedi cover up is definitely going to come into play
All this.
here.
Yeah. So like the
You know,
stuff is happening now, they're gonna cover it up.
oh, they have to.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Because just like you said, with Monday being in there, he thinks that there's still no Sith.
Yeah.
So somehow it doesn't get back to him because I think if he knew, if he knew, he would say something,
Yeah.
or someone comes to him and says, if he does find out, someone's going to come to him and say, "You're not talking about this.
Yeah.
We took care of it. You're not talking about it. They're dead. They're
Yeah.
gone." But I do think. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, I do think that we're going to get. I hope at least that we're going to get at the end of this a little bit of a cliffhanger of who it is.
Yeah.
Who is either the full-time apprentice or the full-time master. Hopefully we get a little glimpse of this. There was some things on there net the other day, about season 2. I don't know if there's going to be a season 2 or not.
Yeah.
But
I
hope we get that.
I had seen that the answer was that it was made to end definitively.
Okay.
But they'd be open to exploring more of this sort of thing. And that'd be like multiple mysteries in the future if they did other seasons. So like not just one story in a season.
Right.
But I don't even think I think it can get back to Mundi and still be fine, because right now, like, they're not even considering the Sith even being a possibility. It's like, it's like, uh, I don't know. And something's got to get back about people. Like, those Jedi aren't coming back, you know?
No.
So at some point, it's got to get out in some way that they're gone. And I think it's possible Soul gets in trouble and no one believes him. Like, hey, I think I saw a Sith. And they're like, because I also feel like in the Phantom Menace, the whole point of Mundi saying that's impossible is like the dramatic irony of we, the audience, literally saw it. And this guy, says, no way. And then Mace Windu's like, I don't think that could happen without us knowing about it. And
Right.
the whole audience is like, you guys are like, come on, get with it.
Right.
And so it's not as if like Mundi is saying it because it's a fact. Like, it's everyone in Qui-Gon Jinn knows he's wrong. We know he's wrong.
Right.
And in every movie, Mundi has something to say.
And he's always wrong.
Yeah, he's always wrong.
Yeah.
And he's, a bunch of people were mad that he was in it because of his age, which was never probably D-level canon at best. But I'm mad that he's in it because I don't like this guy. I texted you about it. Like, I just don't like this guy.
And I agree with that, but I think he's a character that we need in there.
Yes, yeah,
obviously, because of the statements that he made, and that's again, like you just said, that's the reason why he's in there, and that's the reason why he's in the Acolyte. They brought
if
him
anything,
it confirmed.
If anything, him being in there confirms that they either never find out or they get it wrong.
Right.
By the end. And then I saw that they've built this, like, a really, I should look up his name. There's an actor in there who's a very, very strong actor who's done like villain roles up until now.
Right.
Who hasn't even been in the show yet. And so, the thought is like they're going to do the thing where the supposed villain Chimere gets just squashed
by this guy,
by whoever. Yeah, possibly him.
Well, and that's a good possibility as well, because again, if Chimere's acting alone, because again, in the beginning when May is with her, they all think, oh, okay, this is, maybe he is the apprentice, or
they think it's self-contained.
Right. Where I think maybe he's not. Maybe he's like out on his own, is like, I'm going to be my own Sith. I don't care about the rule of two. And then, like you just said, somebody comes by and goes, mush. Yeah. Sorry. Nope. You're not part of the rule of two.
Yeah. You can't be saying that around anywhere. You can't be telling
running your mouth,
especially if he is one. Like, hey kid, what are you doing? But if he's not one, and there are, like, I don't know, I always do this when we're talking. Like, I know I've read something somewhere, and I don't have a clue where it was from somewhere back in here.
Right. In the books.
Yeah, that, like, in that time period, let's just call it over 1,000 years, that the Jedi have a pretty strong belief the Sith are extinct. There are like several instances where people claim to be Sith and they show up to take care of it, and they're like, oh, okay, these are just people who are mad. Like, this isn't a Sith, or this is like a Jedi who's mad, who's like, killing people or whatever. And it's like, obviously not. And so it's at least occurred enough in the old stuff that they don't really take like the Sith threat seriously, because they're gone. Usually it's an imposter if they think they are. But Chimere just killed how many? I don't know. 7
5 or 8 or not. Yeah, 7 or 8.
And now we know without even really being able to see. Like, someone.
Well, that's it. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, someone trained him, I think, even beyond his Jedi time.
Oh yeah, he knows too much about the Sith.
Yeah.
To not have been either in contact with someone, or found, maybe the Sith, what's
Like a
the thing that
holocron or
yeah,
something.
the holocron. Maybe he found that. I don't know. Or he read about that, or he was taught about that. Obviously, if he was a Jedi, and for how long we don't know. But if he has that information, he could possibly have opened up the holocron and gotten some more information about the Sith.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think at this point now, I think that he's possibly acting on his own and just like, and I'm just going to go mess up a bunch of people, because when they come in, when Vanessa Rowe and her whole crew come in, they all think that possibly the insects killed them all.
Yeah.
But then when they get there, they see all the lightsaber, deaths, and they all, think, oh, well, I guess Soul went rogue and killed everybody.
Yeah. And I think, the Jedi as a whole are going to be in trouble by the end, politically or whatever. Because I know that at some point between the High Republic time and the prequels, for example, on Olega, where they go in the was it first or second episode? They have an outpost or like a temple somewhere else. At some point between, and they have them all over, I guess, in the High Republic time. Some point between this time and the prequels, they're like done doing that, pull them all back. I wonder if that's sort of like, hey, we're going to rein you in because you can't get your stuff together. And I don't know, like, to be honest with you, that whenever you're dealing with like a Soul or a Vernestra, they're the only people who are like willing to actually dig any deeper than the rest of the Jedi around them.
Right.
Like Vernestra now, when the guy's like, hey, it's pretty possible they were eaten by insects, so I think we're done deal here.
Our hands of it and be done.
Yeah. She's like, no, like we're walking, kid.
Yeah.
And I feel like that happened in Olega too. They're like, yeah, it was this kid, this kid was messing around. And Soul's like, let's go take a look.
Yeah, you got to investigate it a little bit more. Yeah, for sure.
You can't talk to him. He's not talking to anybody. And it's like, he'll talk to me. Like, right. And so there's like this ineptitude about him, about some of them, that I think is like very telling of the times and why they might want to cover it up, or why they might want to like get a little stressed out in the next 100 years.
Right.
About things. But
and I also think like with Chimere, who says it? Yord says, he doesn't have a specific fighting style or whatever.
Doesn't follow the rules of combat.
Yeah. So again, that also makes me think that he's on his own.
Yeah.
Again, if he was trained by, whether it was a Jedi or a Sith, he's sort of on his own. If that's what Yord is thinking, that he's not following these rules.
I also think that I agree with you there, and I think adding to that's Yord talking, Mr. Protocols and all that, number one valedictorian at the academy.
Right.
And so like, who I doubt has been in a real fight, who's like, oh, he's following the rules. And I don't know, neither did Soul. Soul kind of went nuts hand to hand for a second. And I wonder like how different the Sith fighting style is. There's all kinds of lore and legends about how different it is, but the Sith probably don't care to an extent. They're just there to, especially at that time, everyone's got to go. So, I don't know.
Yep. And we got a couple of viewers on there. Hey, if you guys can shoot something in that chat, let us know what you thought about episode 6. Again, these are obviously spoilers if you're just joining us. That's why I put that across the bottom there. We watched it last night and just talking about Teach and Corrupt, episode 6 of The Acolyte. So
you're at your own risk with the spoilers. Sorry.
Yeah.
But
it's just so much we have to cover in the next 2 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
I think is which I think is good, and that's why I'm almost like, do they have a season 2 coming out? To, are we going to leave on this on a cliffhanger? We've left on a couple cliffhangers already. And again, last night's episode was a little short. I was a little disappointed in that too.
Yeah,
I thought they were going to end at that one point where it like cut out for about 10 seconds and it went to black. and then
Yeah.
it comes back to where she puts his helmet on.
But
I thought it was going to end.
that's even like a minute long. It ended like a minute later.
Yeah.
I would be pretty hopeful for like the ability to wrap it up if the next one I load up Disney Plus and it's like 40 something minutes.
Yeah.
Because then you can get some legwork in with, like you said, going back or sort of, I feel like we peaked hard, and then that's how TV shows go. You peak hard, and then you kind of fill the gap, and now we're ramping up again. So I feel like you can get a solid ramp up in like 40, 45 minutes for like a big last episode that can wrap stuff up. I'm going to be really wondering what's going to happen if it's like a 30-minute episode again.
Yeah, or they just go into episode 8 and we got an hour episode or something.
Yeah,
like that.
That's true. Yeah.
But I'd like to see 2 45-minute episodes instead of a half hour and then maybe an hour, because I think they do have a lot to go. I think we're going to learn a lot when we go back and see what's going on with the witches, because again, all of a sudden they're all just laying there dead.
Yeah, they're not on fire.
No,
they're dead.
No, and we don't get close enough to see if it is lightsabers.
And
so
important note.
Body parts everywhere,
Yeah.
So
important note, Soul is in there. No one else is in there,
Right.
I was, I was leaning toward the I forget his name, the guy who was meditating.
Torben.
Yeah. I was leaning toward he got possessed easily, and so he does something bad and they have to clean it up. But now, like, Soul is in there to save them, or it ends up saving Osha. But like, what's he doing so deep in there? Or did he take care of him? Like, I don't know. And why is it so much of an issue for him 16 years later?
Yeah.
Probably because something really bad happened.
Oh, well, and obviously I think something really bad happened, but I also think that it could have been, he might have been there, and sort of watching and see what's going on or whatever. But then all of a sudden, Vanessa Rowe or whoever roll in there and they're like, no, we got to get rid of these witches, wipe them out. And then all of a sudden the fire starts and he's like, what's going on?
Yeah.
So yeah. And that's the fun part about it. We can make all these assumptions that we want. And, but I think some of this stuff will come true because, again, just same with, Chimere was not obvious, but as it went along, I think everybody was like, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Even if you weren't positive or, even if you don't follow Star Wars, you can see where this guy is sort of acting a little bit goofy. But again, all of a sudden he took May in the alley like that.
Yeah.
So again, he's not this fumbling goofball, and then he almost acts a little bit too goofy when they land on the planet for Kalnaka.
Yeah. Well, and then he gets the first time. I didn't think it was obvious until he was getting mad when May is like, it's impossible to kill a Jedi without a weapon. And there's a moment where he's like, it's not impossible. And he's like, and then he like calms down and says, here's what you just got to do. It's like, oh, okay. And then there was people on Twitter going like, oh, it's now a little too obvious. Now I don't think it's him. And then it was him. It's like, okay, now we can move on. But
yeah. Well, and powerful. Man, he's powerful.
Yeah.
So that'll be the interesting part too, to see who, because I don't think he'll make it out of the episodes. I don't think he'll make it out of this series.
I'm wondering if either of the twins do either.
Yeah, because again, we still have 100 years to go.
Yeah, May's got a testimony to give the Jedi if they want it.
Right.
Where she found him, all that kind of stuff, where to take them. So I don't know, but I don't know what May's game plan is. I don't know what she was trying to do.
Yeah, because she almost flipped.
Yeah,
the last episode, and she was going to give it up, and she was going to go tell everybody and tell Kanaka.
Yeah, she could have killed Soul at any point walking up. Soul's totally distracted, and like, yeah, or he's not. Like, I don't know. Maybe he'll say like, I knew it was you the whole time. Just had to get you on the functional ship and get us out of here. Yeah, I don't
Right.
know. But,
Yeah. Well, and that was my dilemma with him. I think he should have known first thing.
yeah,
Because he felt at the first couple episodes he could feel her, and he obviously had some sort of connection to her.
yeah.
So again, the feelings that the Jedi's have, how did he not know right away? And maybe he did. Maybe he was just trying to play along. But
I got the vibe that he was playing along when they were talking, when he was sitting there talking. Or maybe I was just hoping for that vibe because I was like, how does he not know?
Right.
And I just got the vibe that they were talking kind of weird to each other. I don't know.
Yeah.
And maybe I was just hoping for it. But then the next like clip, he stuns her. So I was like, okay, so he knows.
Right.
And I thought like he got kind of odd when she's like bolted to the medical bed, and he's like, "You're just gonna listen." Yeah. And like, what are you gonna tell her? Like, this isn't OSHA. Like, May probably knows what you did. That's why she's trying to kill you. So like, is he gonna tell her? How are we gonna get this story from the, who's gonna tell it? I don't know. If Kymir tells it, I don't believe all of it. If Soul tells it, I would believe it, I guess. I don't know.
Does Kymir? How does Kymir talk into? Was it back to? What's the planet that the witches are on?
Brendok.
Yeah.
So how does he? Galaxy's Edges.
Okay. How does he tie into to Brendok? Is my, obviously May and OSHA, so they sort of have an idea of what happened.
Mm-hmm.
So how does he tie into that? And then I also think that. So I really think that Soul didn't know what was going on. And I think when everybody got killed, the girls blamed it on those four. So that's another reason why I think Vanessa came in, whether she was by herself or, whoever, and did that. Soul and those other three got blamed for it. Again, we have to figure out how May survived.
Yeah.
Could
we presume that if Kymir's telling the truth about having been a Jedi, that he might be similar in age to Torben? And, he knows, it sounds like knows what went down. When they're in that bar, when he's making her the poison, he's like, he wants absolution for the stuff he did.
Right.
And the only way he can get it is if he's dead.
Right.
And could it be that like he knows about it because he was around it, or you were saying maybe he's Vernestra's apprentice or something, but if he's like around Torben's age and he knows something went down and Torben's like weird because of it now and has to meditate, I don't know.
Right. Or if he was her apprentice at the time, maybe she brought him in there and he helped kill all the witches.
Yeah, I don't know.
And then he decides, well, then he flips to the dark side.
Yeah.
We don't know. We don't know that yet, but you would think that Soul would know if she had an apprentice, because obviously they have enough respect for each other that he would know if she had an apprentice and who it might be.
And Soul would, I think Soul would know him, by laying eyes on him. I would think, I don't know, but Soul's thing for me is like, Kymir knows he's got a dark side to him, and is like, what do you call it? Like taunting him to use it.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if Soul is like, I think Soul is innocent, like morally. Like I think he's probably the only one who's like, man, that was bad. Whereas like maybe someone like Indara was like, move along, and Kanaka's like, I'm getting lost, and Torben's like, can't speak to anybody, sorry. And Soul's like, man, this was bad. I was kind of forced in a really bad, like everything popped off and I was just there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know where Chimera fits in with like knowing that. So I don't know. We'll find out hopefully.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be a couple good episodes, I think, for sure.
Do you
Obviously,
think
to tie these up.
do
Huh?
you think OSHA has it in her to like flip?
I think it's a very good possibility. I think it's almost similar to the Emperor and Anakin.
Yeah.
He's she was so frustrated. She wanted to. She had the lightsaber. She flips him around. She holds it up to his neck. And then she talks about how Jedi don't harm an unarmed assailant or whatever. And he's like, well, you're not a Jedi.
Yeah.
So then what's holding you back from killing me?
Yeah.
And then I think he starts to give her some information. Again, we've talked about where you can manipulate someone to be like, hey, you know what? It's not that bad. Look at what the Jedi are doing. The Jedi just went over here and did all this.
Yeah.
Maybe for the greater good, they thought,
Yeah.
but obviously not. So let me teach you this way, because what you're feeling right now with your anger and your hate is normal.
Yeah.
And you can use it to whatever, fight or go on. And so I think it'll be, it's going to be interesting to see it, and to see if either one of them or both of them live, because again, we have to have, and if they do, what I think will be cool is there will be probably books. Maybe we'll get a Tales of the High Republic.
Yeah.
Where they might take and we find out a little bit more once they get older, once the next 50 years or whatever, what they do before we get to episode 1. Sort of like Omega. Hopefully at some point we'll see a little bit more of Omega and what she's doing in the rebellion, because they sort of left that open-ended as well.
Mm-hmm. I think a couple things leave that. It's probably like the best possibility of getting a lot of information on Chimera. I think we're probably not going to get much more out of who he was, just more about who he is in the show. And like a Tales style show would be perfect for, the coming up for Chimera and everything.
Right.
Because I think with the 2 episodes coming up, I would think that our big background history on who Chimera is would have happened this episode
Right.
6. And I think at this point, we're going to know all we need to know for the story to ramp up again and resolve.
I think they will. I think they will at least let us know, again, if it was, Vanessa Rowe that was his Jedi master.
Yeah. I don't think they're going to spend several minutes on it. I think it'll be like, we'll know, and then it'll pop off.
Right.
Because Chimera seems to be, at least from what I'm seeing, pretty universally well-liked character. So I'd be shocked if we didn't get more stuff, whether it's books or a comic. There's like comics involving the Knights of Ren that gave us all the information on the Knights of Ren that there is. In the movies, they're just kind of there.
Right.
So, and again, I don't know if he's the origin of the Knights of Ren, like I've been seeing on Twitter, but he's got, like you said, I think he's got a similar vibe. I'm not sold that he's actually a Sith. I think he maybe thinks he is, or is trying to be. Or we can go the other way, and maybe the master that discarded him was a Sith apprentice who was trying to make a move. Because I had made the prediction that Chimera was the Sith apprentice trying to make his move by teaching a new pupil.
Right.
By the time they were both ready, they could move the rule of 2 forward. Right. I'm not so sold on that now anymore. Austin convinced me otherwise. I think he kind of really wants to be like Kylo Ren, really wants to be his grandfather, but just kind of isn't.
Well, and again, it brings us back to that with the Kylo Ren theme.
Yeah.
That has to come out at some point. She says it is. Everybody knows about it now, and even if you didn't catch it, you heard it on some sort of social media. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that, because I think that's good. We're going to have to answer to that as well.
Yeah. She said it was intentional. And she said, I know that one came out in a lot of articles, but I saw another one that and I'd love to know if this is true or not, that there's at least another Sith in the show. And the words were at least another Sith, which is
Yeah,
like,
I think there has to be. And
yeah,
like I said, especially at the end, either
yeah,
it's going to come out that there is a master
hmm,
and he is the apprentice or whatever, or he's on his own and either the master or the apprentice is just going to take him out.
they need to, yeah,
Right, because
they
we're not
he
ready to
needs to
reveal
go,
ourselves yet.
yeah, he needs to go no matter what. If you're
Right.
them, right?
Right.
If he
And
is
it's
one,
just like when Maul in episode 1, Maul's like, "Oh, we finally get to reveal ourselves."
yeah, yeah,
So again, like you said, I think he's out there saying, "Hey, the Sith are out here," and the Sith are going to be like, "Hey, shut your freaking mouth."
yeah, yeah,
And if, oh, and you didn't, so now we need to take care of you.
yeah. That's
Because
what Austin.
we're not ready. We're not ready yet.
Yeah, that's what Austin and I were talking about. Like, it doesn't, at this point, it doesn't really matter to me personally if he's a Sith or not. He proclaimed it and put it out there, which puts
Right.
them in a tough spot and puts him in a tough spot. So, regardless of what he is, the outcome has to be the same. Like, he's got to be off the board, or Soul's got to be off the board.
Right.
You know.
So do you think he's the acolyte, or do you think one of the girls are the acolyte?
I,
Dun dun dun.
I think he maybe was one, and now wants
Now
one.
he wants one for himself.
Yeah, so I think May was, presumably the acolyte in terms of the, so far, and maybe he was one, and he wants someone to do his, dirty work or whatever.
Right.
Because, like you said, I just don't think he's involved as tightly as, say, Maul and Palpatine were. Maul was out there doing missions, but he wasn't revealing himself.
Right.
Palpatine kind of had him on a leash
Yeah.
for that reason, because if he was allowed to do whatever he wanted, they'd be revealed.
Oh yeah, Palpatine would have killed him.
Jedi like crazy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's possible he might have been an acolyte. I think I'm the one place I differ with you is that I think it's possible a Sith gave him that scar,
Okay.
and that he got discarded. So if he was an acolyte, he maybe got discarded by that Sith, which would be tough because that means the Sith didn't finish the job.
Right, but and I feel that because I think they wouldn't have shown the lightsaber whip for just no reason, and showed his scars. They obviously showed his scars for a reason.
I just thought it was odd when she said, got it from I was discarded by a master, and she's like, a Jedi master, and he doesn't answer.
Right.
I was like, that's a perfect opportunity to say, yeah, Jedi did this to me.
Right.
Look at all the people you love. And he doesn't say anything. He just leaves.
Right. Well, but I also think, do you think that Osha is more powerful than May?
Yeah, I think part of I think I've said this on the show before. Part of like the Jedi thing is I think despite their issues, it's a lifelong, thousands-year-old streamlined discipline where you can develop a teenage Padawan to be like one of the best warriors in the galaxy, right? Or whatever. Whereas like May just got a license to be pissed all the time and take it out on people. And not that May isn't powerful, but that like there probably wasn't nearly enough compared to Osha, like time under tension, as I would call it.
Right.
But Osha, I think Kymer's right. Like Osha's under the belief that it fades, and I don't know if it fades. I think if she really tried, she could bring it out. So maybe like Osha's got more hidden potential at the moment than May does. I'm wondering if going back to what happened on Brendock will also include why Indara kicked her out.
Right.
Was gonna kick her out, I guess. And maybe come out like they didn't kick you out because they thought you were unstable, they kicked you out because they needed to finish the cover up,
Right.
or whatever, and which is even more messed up.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, I definitely think that the Jedi, even in 3, 4, and 5, I mean, obviously, or 1, 2, and 3, Yoda even, says, "Hey, what, we're losing it."
yeah,
So I think that they could be covering things up along with not really knowing what's going on because the Sith have sort of taken over. So. Hey, we got 4 people on here. We're probably gonna wrap this up in a little bit. If you guys have any questions or any insights or what you thought about episode 6, there's obviously some spoilers here. I guess, is that your dad up there, Lane?
where is it?
Can you see it on the comments? No. He said he
Oh, there we
hasn't.
go.
Yeah, he
Hey,
hasn't
Dad.
watched it yet. So
I was on the wrong. I was on the wrong chat. Hello, Dad. Hasn't watched it yet. Had to watch the Fever game. They're big Indiana Fever fans.
Okay.
Caitlin Clark.
Oh, okay.
Iowa
Women's basketball.
Yeah, they're Iowa Hawkeye freaks.
Nice.
Just kidding.
So, but yeah, if you guys have any insights or what you thought of it, again, there's still a bunch of stuff out there, everybody's hating on everything, but I thought it was pretty cool that we got to see, a little bit more in depth of what's going on.
Did you read that?
I think that we need these. Let's see.
I don't know. Is there? Is there a Star Wars Independence Day? Maybe. There probably is.
Isn't there a
There's Life Day, which is like Christmas.
Yeah, but isn't there what were they doing in Andor? Isn't there like an Empire Day or something like that? Or is that or it might have been in Rebels or Clone Wars? Maybe it was Rebels.
I think it's Rebels.
That might have just been on Lothal.
Yeah,
as well.
So Dad, there might have been one, but it was like pro Empire. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Let me look. Hold on. Let me look it up.
Yeah, see if there is one. But we are live. Got 4 people on there. Probably your mom and dad and 2 of my friends.
All right, I got the list of holidays that have existed in Star Wars. There's Boonta Eve, which is I'm assuming that's the pod race.
Yeah.
Day. Life Day.
Okay.
Which is like a Wookiee thing, but I think everybody does it.
All right.
Dantooine Spring Abundance Festivals. I'm not sure. Galactic Moon Festival. Not sure what that is. Festival of the Ancestors, which is where they go in Rise of Skywalker to Pasana.
Oh, where they find Lando?
Yep.
Okay.
Well,
that's what I was going to ask you.
Those were just the highlights because there's there's a lot.
Oh, yeah.
I would assume there's probably one to commemorate when Palpatine said, "It's my show now, kids."
Right. Yeah.
And then there's probably one to celebrate when everyone found out the second Death Star blew up.
Yeah.
I would assume.
Yeah, because they have that on a couple of them.
Mm-hmm.
They show that. And was that Endor? That they show that in one of the first episodes or something? I forget.
That
one
was
of them.
in Boba Fett.
Okay.
Or season 3
of
or
Mando.
2 of Mando. Season 2 of Mando, because he goes to Mos Pelgo.
Yeah.
And then
yeah, because he did. Yeah, that's it.
Telling him like what happened.
Yeah.
And they
show it a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing, I think, because again, people forget that it's such a huge universe, and the Jedi and whatever else is going on in the Skywalker world isn't as it's minuscule compared to the whole galaxy.
We have a really lucky bias that we get to see kind of the most important parts happen that almost no one would even know. If you lived in that world, you'd have no idea.
Right. There's definitely a possibility of that.
If you lived in that world, the statistical likelihood that you would ever come across a Jedi is like impossible, even at their height. You know, there's 10,000
Right.
of them, and there's 4 trillion people on Coruscant
Right.
alone. So
Yeah.
it's like you personally probably would not have any proof that they actually exist, which would make it kind of easy to like make them a myth, you know,
Yeah.
with propaganda and whatnot. So
Yeah. Well, and again, and that's which I think we'll get into a little bit more in these next 2 episodes of, you know, what's going on with the Sith.
mhm.
You know, they're gonna hide. They're gonna have to hide it somehow again.
Yeah.
That's my thought.
Yeah.
You know,
And
they're gonna have to.
like I said, technically still hidden.
Right.
Soul's the only guy, and I guess May and Osha, because Osha
Right.
was around to hear him say, I guess you'd call me a Sith.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. That's the only 4 people.
yeah.
You know, unless he is an apprentice.
Yeah.
I don't think he's a master at all.
Yeah.
I think he's very powerful. And I think, you know, just with, like you said, with what he's done and the fighting techniques that he used with that helmet on and not being able to
See
anything,
yeah.
you know, which,
or I'm assuming, bless you. I'm assuming that the sensory deprivation means he can't hear either. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
that's
But
why.
again, you go back to Ahsoka teaching Sabine, you go back to Ben teaching Luke, you know, it's all about the blinders.
Yeah.
You know, which I thought that was cool because it brought that into fruition with those other 2. Or maybe this is the beginning of it.
Yeah.
You know, for your sensories, and that's why they do that down the road with Luke and Ben.
Well,
So
he
I
said
thought that
to
was
her,
pretty
like,
cool.
he said to her, it's just like the helmets you used at the Jedi Temple.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So, but I wonder what the deal is with, you know, like, put it on. You know, is it even more intense so that like your emotions come up? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
With, you know, he like leaves it with her, like, go ahead, put it on.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know what the
And she puts it on, and then we end the episode.
yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I mean, they keep us guessing, which is good, because again, people like you and I, if all 8 of them came out, we'd sit down and watch the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
my mom and dad did it right. They watched 4 and 5 consecutively. So, you know, when we were watching 4 and it ends like they're just about to fight and then it's over and had to wait a week, that was tough.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and again, and you know, Star Wars is a bunch of, you know, look at Empire Strikes Back. That was the biggest cliffhanger of all.
Yeah.
You know,
put that one up.
Oh, yeah.
5 was great.
Yeah. I really think it was one of the best live action episodes out of all of them. You know, again, I love them all. You know, again, the Darth Vader Obi-Wan fight was phenomenal. The Ahsoka stuff, you know, some of the Boba Fett stuff I thought was incredible. But this was just, it was so dark. Mm-hmm. You know, it's just something that we really haven't seen in Star Wars before in that magnitude. I think with, you know, with literally the snapping of someone's neck right there on camera, you know, Jackie getting stabbed with the lightsaber 3 times. I mean, that's just a little overkill. I mean, obviously, you know,
and we got an off screen behind a tree beheading. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And again, when he's got the one, you know, like a shish kebab, he pulls the other guy into the, you know, to the lightsaber, you know, so it's, you know, it was crazy. I thought it was fantastic. I think they did a good job with it. And again, now that, you know, he couldn't see anything.
Yeah.
All he can do is sense this stuff. It's crazy.
There's my mom behind the tree. Yeah.
The beheading behind the tree.
On a kebab. But
yeah, it was good. I'm looking forward to next week. You know, again, we got 2 more episodes, which will wrap everything up. I think we'll have a lot to talk about next week as well. Mm-hmm. So we've almost been on here for an hour. Thank you guys for coming on. Yeah, that was crazy, she said.
Yeah.
So have they watched all of do they know all the movies and stuff?
Pretty much.
Mom and Dad? Okay.
Yeah. Pretty sure they're pretty well versed.
Yeah.
Um, but my dad just said they haven't watched 6.
Yeah.
I would almost maybe, you know, to be honest, uh, depends how the next 2 go, but maybe wait on it. What do we got here? Love how they make reference to a mineral that's only been referenced once in the Star Wars comics. Yeah, that I like that, and I think it's, I don't know. I think that makes it more obvious that they do care about lore and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I had to look it up,
Yeah,
which, I found a little snippet on there. Thanks, Jacob, for jumping on, buddy. But yeah, with that cortosis, and again, we see a little bit more of it in this episode. Obviously there is some, but again, it is fragile, like we said at the beginning. Jackie just 2 punches with it and it broke off.
yeah,
But again, it's a powerful, it's a huge, powerful thing. But also, like, we were talking about, we just recorded an episode yesterday, and we were talking with a friend of ours where we don't see that. So obviously it's very minimal, because you don't see that in 1, 2, and you don't see that
yeah,
in the Star Wars universe. You see
yeah,
it here, and then and now it's gone.
yeah. And I remember it
So
from the Darth Plagueis novel, which
yeah,
is a little bit ahead of this time in the time where they're actually like looking for it. The 2 Sith that are around are trying to mine it and trying to figure it out, and there's so little of it, and they're obsessed with it. So I think it's not only a good little plucking of a cool detail, but it fits with what we're kind of trying to get into.
right, for sure. There's your pops with another
Yeah.
one.
5 when New Hope came out. Dolby sound of the Star Destroyer overhead in the first scene was life changing. I bet that was pretty nuts to
Yeah.
see. I think it's nuts, but I didn't get to see it in a,
Yeah, I
all
remember how overwhelmed I was. Again, I was
yeah,
only 10, but still, it comes in, and you have that surround sound, and it's just, and this thing, just pretty much shaking the whole theater as it comes in.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
what mom say here?
Saw the first in 1977 in the theater, and then was Princess Leia for Halloween. Sweet, yeah.
She says I felt small. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I did too. I know you guys have watched a few of our episodes, but yeah, I did. I don't know if you guys were around my age, but yeah, at 10, I thought it was just incredible. And again, as we get cliffhangers and stuff like that with the Empire, and even at the end, you still know, as you see Darth Vader and the TIE fighter, flying off, he's still alive. So
Yeah,
there's something else is gonna come out of
yeah,
this. So I thought that was. I think they continue to do that with these live actions. As much as people are hating on them, I think they are sticking to a lot of the stuff. And again, we're in 2024. We're not in 1977 anymore.
mm-hmm.
So it's crazy, some of the stuff that's going on.
Yeah.
What else?
Thanks, Dad.
Appreciate it. Happy 4th to you.
Appreciate you always listening.
Yeah. So
yeah.
You got anything else? Want to wrap this up?
I'm just looking forward to see where it goes. See how this thing wraps up.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to also see what the title is next week.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a 2, I think we're going to know, like you said, depending on how long it's going to be once we turn it on, and then also what the title is. If it's going to have a double title again, I think we're still going to have them separated, and we might get the stories.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get the Chimere story, and we'll get the Soul and Maya Osha story.
Yeah.
Separate.
Well, I think it's a lot like in The Last Jedi, they kind of pulled from this like classic samurai movie where you hear 2 people's interpretations of the story, and then you get the real one. And you see them all, and we've seen the version that Osha's been sold. I think her whole life that May started the fire, everyone died, and Soul rescued her. And I'm assuming we get a Chimere story that's way worse, and then Soul finally spills, and it's like a mix of the 2.
Yeah, because I think he has to have something to do with that Chimere. Does.
Yeah.
He's not in this series just for the heck of it to be a Sith. Yeah. I think he has something to do with all that stuff. So, so we got a, like I said, we did a cool podcast yesterday with a buddy of ours, Matt, who, it was sort of like a Star Wars for beginners. So that'll be coming out probably early next week, maybe later this week. So that was fun. It was a long one, but we had a good time. I don't think it was boring. We talked about a lot of things. He had a bunch of questions for us, which was really cool. So we touched on a lot of stuff. How to watch it. If you haven't watched them all, or if you want to, the best way, whether it's chronologically or release date. We each have our opinions on that. We talked about some other different things that are going on in the Star Wars universe now. Some different questions that if you're not in the Star Wars universe, or if you're not really sure, what a Jedi is, or how the lightsaber battles go. We talked about that a little bit, which was really cool. So keep an eye out for that over on YouTube at Star Wars Jedi Chat, and Nick and I will be coming out with some more. We got a couple more episodes coming up that we're looking forward to recording with some really cool people. And if you guys have anybody that's on here, if you have any requests, anything like that, please let us know. Again, we'll probably come on next week again live on Wednesday after we see episode 7. Might have a lot more to talk about then as well. So,
well said.
Yep. So, all right, brother. Well, thank you for joining on. Everybody, may the Force be with you, and we will see you on the next Star Wars Jedi Chat.